Hello and welcome back to my TransAmerica Trail Adventure Across America series. In part 11, I finished out Oklahoma and arrived in Arkansas, where I instantly fell in love with the wonderful green forests and all the swampy vibes. I navigated through a good deal of forest, but I still had many miles to cover.
You and I, we've been running away from space and time.
I was continuing to make good time down one of my favorite sections of the Tat. It really felt like the stars had finally aligned and everything was going right. Something that is rare and somewhat short-lived on the Tat. Before I knew it, I was jammed up with some road construction and was forced to stop for a good chunk of time. That's alright though, as I got to strike up a conversation with one of the locals. We had a good chat because he was bored from being stuck on sign duty all day, and I hadn't conversed with another human in days. Our time together was short, but I said goodbye to my new friend and hopped back on the trail. After a whole day of riding, I made it to the infamous War Loop Road. I don't think my camera accurately displays just how steep this puppy was, but I was a little intimidated. I just got to War Loop Road. I'm coming from the west, and it's just starting to get a little sketchy, and I don't really want to deal with it. I've had enough spills this trip. I'm just trying to get to the East Coast in one piece. Trail's a little bit wet still. Rocks are a little slippery. There's puddles. It's kind of overgrown. Just not ideal, you know, when you got 150 plus pounds of gear and back tires going bald. So, yeah, I'm gonna turn around, take the safe route. You know, it's probably the first time I made a good decision this whole trip. I reconnected with the Tat up the road and continued onward. My gas was getting a little low, but I saw a gas station marked on the trail map that read, "Gas, food, stop here and eat." I was excited to fill up both tanks, but when I got there, it was closed. Two dudes I met outside the gas station who were traveling on the Tat heading the other direction said there was another spot to grub up the street, so I followed them. But once again, we were skunked and I was running on fumes. I had to opt out of this section of the Tat in search of gasoline, though I'm glad I did because the sunlight quickly gave out on me and I needed to find a place to camp. The next morning I woke up to hundreds of dragonflies all over the place, which was a pretty cool sight, though I don't think it looks as cool and magical on film, so you'll just have to trust me on this one. I began navigating back to the Tat, which even the connecting roads had some pretty cool scenery. Check out this pond filled to the brim with lotus plants. This is definitely something you would not see occurring naturally in California. Maybe at the zoo, but that's fake. I was cruising along at a good pace, bopping down the trail when I encountered a Jeep going the opposite way. He flagged me down and asked me if I was also on the TransAmerica Trail. And just like that, I made another Tat friend. We chatted for a good chunk of time, showing each other pictures and videos from our travels before we went our separate ways. The further east I got into Arkansas, the more the rules just didn't seem to apply anymore. Apparently in Arkansas you can just drive your massive tractor on the highway and no one will even bat an eye. Oh, and you have a massive pile of grass clippings? Why not just burn them in the front yard? Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm actually pretty envious, although I was worried about getting squished a few times. On the subject of getting squished, I had this terrifying scenario shakedown, where a truck was pulling onto the road, kicking up a large plume of dust when the driver behind him decided to pass and come at me head on. Luckily, I was paying attention and eased off the throttle and gave him some scary honks to deflect him back in his lane. After that scary encounter, I did what anyone would do. Go on a side quest to check out a swamp! I honestly don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I guess in the moment I just wanted to experience a swamp firsthand. I rode until, well, I couldn't anymore. I know, the ending was a little anticlimactic. Sorry. But look what I found just down the road. Now this is a proper swamp, what with the weird tree leg looking things and such. Before I knew it, my time in Arkansas was coming to an end. I was bummed as this state was absolutely amazing and set the bar very high for the rest of the East Coast. I crossed the bridge over the Mississippi River and just like that, I checked another state off my list. While I was ready to tackle Mississippi, I was a bit nervous going into this foreign land, as challenges and new territories always present themselves in the form of weather, trail conditions, or resources. But there was one thing I was looking forward to: finding me a gator! Mississippi was a very green state, just like Arkansas. So green even that I would often question if I was in fact on the Tat, or if I somehow managed to divert off trail and was driving down someone's overgrown driveway. But that's what an adventure is, right? Not really knowing what's around the next turn. I was making my way down this gravel road on the Tat when I noticed a super secluded swamp that was bound to have some alligators. So I pulled out the camera and drone to investigate. This swamp was looking very promising. I mean, just look at that crusty green water. I flew the drone up and down the swamp looking for any sign of life, but after burning through nearly an entire tank of drone juice, all I got was some mosquito bites. I later found out that standing on the bank of a swamp is not the best idea, as the gators often see you long before you see them. It was getting late and I was tired after a long day of saddle time, so I decided to find a campsite and call it a night. The campground was beautiful, but I will say the gnats in the restroom were a little out of control. Thank you so much for watching part 12 of my TransAmerica Trail Adventure Across America series. Be sure to check out part 13. It's sure to fill you with all sorts of emotions as I make my way through the very wet and very visually stunning state that is Mississippi.